Take two screws out of a drawer. They look almost identical. Same length, same color, same basic shape. Drive one into a piece of oak and the wood cracks in two. Drive the other and it pulls the joint together without leaving a mark. Same action, same force, completely different result. There are thousands of types of screws in existence, and the differences between them are not arbitrary. Every variation in the point, the thread, the shank, the head, and the drive pattern cut into the top exists because someone encountered a specific problem and engineered the solution directly into the fastener. The real reason there are so many types of screws is that the jobs they do are more different from each other than they appear. And choosing the wrong one can mean a cracked board, a stripped head, or a joint that opens up months after it was built. Let's get into it right here on Small Things. One object, 5 different problems. At its core, a screw is a cylinder of metal with a helical groove wrapped around it. Simple enough as a description, deeply insufficient as a definition. That cylinder has 5 distinct parts: the point, the thread, the shank, the head, and the drive pattern cut into the top. Each of those 5 parts is a separate engineering decision. Change the point, and you change how the screw enters the material. Change the thread, and you change whether the surrounding material splits or holds. Change the shank, and you change whether 2 boards pull together or push apart. Change the drive, and you change whether the tool grips or slips. A screw is not one object solving one problem. It is 5 solutions stacked inside a single piece of metal. From hand-cut chaos to engineered order. It did not begin with the thousands of precisely engineered options lining a hardware store wall today. It began with a shape that nobody could make consistently. The screw thread as a mechanical concept goes back to ancient Greece. Archimedes is credited with describing a helical screw for lifting water around 250 BCE, though the principle may have existed even earlier. For most of the following 2,000 years, screw threads used in woodwork and metalwork were cut entirely by hand, one at a time by craftsmen with files and chisels. No 2 screws from different makers were the same diameter, the same thread spacing, or the same head shape. If a screw broke inside a mechanism, finding one that fit as a replacement was, more often than not, simply impossible. This created serious practical problems as mechanical machinery grew more complex during the early industrial period. Machines contained dozens or hundreds of screws. If those screws were not interchangeable, maintaining the machine meant keeping every original screw and hoping none of them ever failed. The solution came in 1841, when a British engineer named Joseph Whitworth proposed the first standardized screw thread system. Whitworth measured hundreds of existing screws from workshops across England, averaged their proportions, and published a single recommended standard for thread angle, pitch, and diameter across a range of sizes. It was not immediately adopted everywhere, but it introduced a fundamental idea. A screw was not a craftsman's individual creation. It was a reproducible, interchangeable object built to a specification. That shift changed manufacturing permanently. American engineers developed their own competing standards, which led to decades of frustration between systems that were almost but not quite compatible with each other. The modern ISO metric standard, which now governs most of the world's screws, did not fully take hold internationally until the latter half of the 20th century. A process that began with someone hand-filing a thread in a workshop eventually produced one of the most tightly regulated families of manufactured objects on Earth. And yet, even within that tightly regulated system, the number of variants kept growing, not out of confusion or commercial interest, but because each new material, each new application, and each new type of joint kept revealing a new specific problem that the existing screws did not quite solve. The hardware store aisle is long because the list of problems turned out to be long too. Why every part has a reason. So why do those 5 parts generate so many variations? Because each one interacts with a different property of the material it enters, and materials are not all the same. Start with the point. A standard tapered point drives into wood by pushing fibers apart. In soft woods like pine, those fibers compress, and the joint holds. In dense hardwoods, pushing fibers apart creates internal pressure that can split the board along its grain in a fraction of a second. A self-drilling tip, cut with a small slit or serrated edge, solves this by cutting fibers rather than wedging them apart. The same basic screw shape, one small difference at the tip, produces a completely different outcome in the same piece of wood. Move up to the thread. Coarse threads have deep, widely spaced grooves that grip soft wood powerfully. In dense hardwood, those same coarse threads generate so much outward pressure that the wood splits, the hole strips, or the screw snaps. Fine threads, shallower and more closely spaced, slice into dense grain without the pressure spike. The shank creates a problem most people never notice until they see it happen. When a fully threaded screw passes through 2 boards, its threads grip both. If any gap exists between those boards, the screw holds them at that distance instead of pulling them together. A partially threaded screw solves this. The smooth upper shank slides through the first board without gripping. The threads below bite only into the second, and the joint pulls tight. The head determines what happens at the surface. A flat-headed screw has a tapered underside designed to drive flush as it sinks. Without the matching recess in the wood, that taper crushes the fibers around the hole visibly, leaving a raised, damaged ring that no finishing can hide. Then the drive. Phillips head drives were designed to cam out under excess torque as a safety feature for early assembly lines. That same feature became a frustration in handwork, where it strips the head before the screw is fully seated. Square and star drives transfer more rotational force with less slipping, more torque delivered, less damage done. It is not just about the size. The most common assumption people make about screws is that the most important choice is length and thickness. Get those right, and the job is done correctly. That thinking is how surfaces get split, joints open up, and heads get stripped. Length and thickness matter, but they operate downstream of the other decisions. A screw with the wrong thread type for the wood will still crack the board regardless of its length. One with the right thread but a fully threaded shank joining 2 loose panels will lock a gap open instead of closing it. The right length inside the wrong head shape leaves a raised, damaged surface that announces the mistake permanently. There is also a widely shared belief that harder, more specialized screws are always better. Drywall screws are hardened so their Phillips heads resist stripping during automated installation. That same hardness makes them brittle under bending stress. Where a standard construction screw would flex and hold, a drywall screw can snap cleanly through the shank, leaving the head in the wood and nothing below to grip. The reverse is also true. A heavy construction screw driven into thin trim will split it regardless of how carefully it is driven. The right screw is not the strongest one available. It is the one that matches the specific demands of the specific joint. Every variation in the hardware store exists because someone somewhere discovered what happens when the match is wrong. The invisible architecture around you. Today you will find different types of screws doing quietly specific jobs in almost every structure and object around you. each one chosen because nothing else would quite work in its place. The screws holding a door hinge are short, fine-threaded, and designed with wide flat heads that sit flush against the metal plate. Replace them with coarse threaded construction screws, and the threads tear through the thin wood fibers around the hinge, leaving nothing solid for the joint to grip. The door sags. The problem is invisible until it is not. Cabinet carcasses use partially threaded screws at joints where two panels meet face to face. The smooth shank pulls the panels tight. A fully threaded screw in the same position, in a cabinet that sees daily use, can gradually work a gap open over months as the joint cycles through small movements. In structural timber framing, long, coarse-threaded screws are driven at angles through joists and beams, where the thread length and shank diameter are calculated to transfer loads without withdrawing under sustained weight. These look nothing like the trim screws in the same building. They do not need to look similar. They need to solve entirely different problems. Even the screws inside electronic devices are a separate world. Tiny, fine-threaded, with drive patterns engineered to resist the micro-stripping that would make a consumer device impossible to open. Each one is the result of a specific engineering decision about a specific kind of failure that somebody, at some point, actually experienced. Simple on the surface. So why are there so many types of screws? Because the problems they solve are not the same problem. A screw looks like one object, but inside it are 5 engineering decisions, each one responding to a different way that a joint can fail. Change the material, change the thickness, change whether the boards are being pulled together or held apart, and the right combination of those 5 decisions changes with it. A screw may look simple, but every part of it is designed to solve a specific problem. The right screw quietly holds things together. The wrong one can split, slip, loosen, break, or ruin the surface. The only difference between those two outcomes is usually something too small to see without looking closely. If this changed the way you think about the small objects holding the world around you together, let us know in the comments what you want us to explore next. We might make it our next episode. Thanks for watching. History often hides in the smallest details.